As Digital Circus is coming to an end and to the big screen in our theaters, it's occurred to me that the series as a whole has impacted so many people. And it's beautiful that an indie cartoon that spawned off of YouTube can now be seen on the big screens in a month, or in a few weeks whenever I post this. Not only that, but it has spawned so many fans, support, respect, kind of, and most importantly, fan art for this video, of course. Since I want to contribute something to this series before I see it go, I will be drawing 3 Digital Circus characters in this video, and just overall reflect on what this series has contributed to my life. Like seriously, dude, it's so cool to get to see the finale in theaters, like in person. Like, bro, I'm gonna grow up and I'm just gonna like remember this experience and tell my grandchildren, but that's besides the point. Without further ado, let's kick this off by drawing the first character. So our first character is... it's Jax. Hooray! Okay, you know exactly why I'm not a deuce for this purple rabbit. And if you watched the previous episodes, you'd understand why. Despite my disdain for this demon child, I did have a few inspirations and ideas for how I wanted to go about posing him in this composition, along with a few new rules for how I'm going to go about drawing these characters. So for starters, I'm only allowing these illustrations to be 25 by 2500 canvas size, so I can practice utilizing the limited space that I have on these portraits. Another rule that I want to follow while making these fan arts is drawing these characters in a profileable way. So to do this, I took a few inspirations from Pinterest, which is the best site to look for when finding kawaii looking characters and drawings or whatever. Everything's aestheticized there, so there's always inspiration lurking in every corner on the site. With all these procedures in mind, it really helped me propel into putting motivation into these art pieces. Admittedly, I did have some trouble drawing the pose because I don't usually draw guys, but I am working on it. Sorta. And if you noticed before, I also didn't feel like drawing hands, so I may have traced over the Ibis paint traceables that are available and free to use on the app. At least some of them. Premium. Anyways, I remember taking a lot of inspiration from other artists that drew these characters, and something I really liked was how someone made Jax point at the screen with his finger, which made me want to implement that idea into the artwork. But I also wanted to have him pointing at himself with his fist, which actually threw me into a tassel because I wasn't sure which ideas to use. I struggled to the point where I made 2 extra sketches with these concepts separately, but I trashed them because I didn't like them. Ultimately, I went back to the first one and made it become what it is now. So, lesson of the day, don't give up, because you'll get there eventually. Now we're jumping straight into rendering, and there is something I approached very differently when I drew these characters, but we'll get to that in a bit. I wasn't exactly sure if my usual drawing process would fit the characters at all, but I ultimately went with the flow and things turned out just fine. Now, let's talk about Jax. Jaxy boy. I went from hating him, to loving him, to despising his every being. But he's such an interesting character. I just hate how stubborn and rude he is. Honestly, it's just weird how his actions seem to be brushed off by the other characters, like in episode 8. You know, when they were all talking about leaving the circus. But at the end of the day, I'm just eager to get to know his backstory with Ribbit and Kaufmo and how he ended up the way he did in his little sad boy story. I'll still never forgive him for what he did to Gingle. Now I go on to rendering his eyes and the rest of his face. Sorry if the format jump scared you. Yes, I do draw on a phone because I'm broke. No, I'm just joking. I don't know why I draw on a phone. It's the only thing I have. Deal with it. No, I'm just joking. Enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so this is where things take a turn for the better or for worse. Okay, let's slow down for a second, and let me tell you a secret. Come closer, closer, even closer. I hate line art! And truth be told, I used to do it in my older art pieces, but I traded it for lineless strokes because at the time, and still to this day, it just suited my needs better. But since I wanted to try something different with these guys, since I don't usually draw tacked characters, I took inspiration from a certain artist I like. I'll get to them in a bit. And I chose to add line art to the finished rendered pieces, which was exhausting, but admittedly rewarding. I haven't drawn line art in years, unless you count all the sprites I make. But that's different, okay? I feel like the line art helped all the 3 pieces stay coherent with each other, while also giving them a bold, popping look, which helped me a lot since I wanted these pieces to look similar to each other. Once I finished the liner, I started adjusting certain areas to make sure everything looked structured and perfect. And then after I finished with that, I got started with my favorite part, filters! I'm sorry, I just love filters so much. Not only did he help unify the color scheme in your entire piece, but they're just so fun to mess around with. With all of that said, it shouldn't be a surprise to how much I messed around with the colors on Jax, and how much fun I had doing it. I added the finishing touches, we finished with the first character. Yay! Now on to the second. Oh, look who's next. Say hello to good old Rocky. As usual, I start off with the sketch, but I do remember having some difficulty coming up with ideas for Rakida. Like, I tried really hard to do some type of dynamic pose for all 3, but in my opinion, I think with all the characters I drew, Rakida fell short of that. I don't really mind too much though, because I still think she turned out amazing. It just ruins the consistency that I wanted to have with all 3 portraits. But I guess that's okay. Once I started drawing her, I realized I was not prepared to draw her braided, raggedy hair. No offense by the way, I love her hair. But by looking at a few references, I started to get the hang of it. All this made drawing her more efficient and fun. As we watch the base and flat colors be filled in, let's talk about Rakida. I remember in my Gap video of her, me and many others called her out for her toxic positivity, but something that not many other people mentioned was that her actions didn't always result on leaving a bad impact on others, although still being unhealthy in the process. I still stand on that. In my Yap video, looking back, it was all jumbled with ideas and excitement. But an example I used of her positive traits leaving a good impact on others was when she taught Gingle how to throw a baseball, which helped her in the next episode when they played that baseball game. Her kindness helps other characters to feel safe around her. Although vice versa, it's important to point out how those same positive traits can make other characters feel isolated around her. Like again with Gingle. In the same episode 4, she acknowledges how kind Rakida is, but knows that she's putting on a fake facade that makes her question if she's being true or not around her. Those dots are even more propelled after Rakida, under the influence of the stupid sauce, of course, says things that really hurt Gingle. But yeah, I said all of that because I'm really glad to see her pushing herself to be a better person in these last few episodes, and I hope the movie shows us more of her growth. If I don't get spoiled by the leaks, of course. So the rendering stage was a little tedious because I had to render all of her hair strands and it was exhausting. It took me a whole day to get it done because admittedly I did take breaks in between. Okay, but still, I really underestimated how hard she would be to draw. It wasn't hard to draw her, but the only part I struggled on was motivation because her hair had so many hair strands. So just a heads up, if you're ever going to draw Rakida, just beware of her hair. Because, it's a doozy, I will say. Despite the fact that I hated rendering her hair, I can't lie and say that the end results were pretty good. So I guess it was worth the struggle, although I'm probably never gonna draw her again. After I finished up with her hair, I just started rendering her clothes and other parts that weren't cleaned up. Oh, I forgot to mention, drawing her eye was super fun, but honest confession, I do not know how to draw eyes. So usually I just wing it and I just do what felt right at the moment while using references in the process. So don't ask for any tutorials in the future. Now I'm on to the line art, which was just the same thing as last time, if not more tedious because of her hair! But it did make me experiment with the line art and with okay. Honestly, the tool that's been helping me out the most with line art is this weird curvy Ibis paint tool that I found, which you saw me use before on Jax. Once you place it down, you can adjust and move it around to help you form clean, smooth lines on your canvas, which is super helpful. This was a lifesaver for me. Once I finished with this, I added filters and other fun add-ons, especially halftones. I started to place these in my art more recently, and I just think they're super cute and add so much interest to an art piece. Now with all that done, we finished the second piece. Looking not so bad myself, I should say. Now let's move on to the poster girl. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. The last character we'll be drawing is... Pomni! Hooray! Now, as per usual, I always start with the sketch. But embarrassingly, I had to restart this because I didn't like the first one. I think doing this was actually the right move though, as I feel like this sketch was much cleaner and better in so many ways from the first. Now that I mention it, I've actually always liked sketching, which is why I go to so many lengths to make it look nice and full of details. I hope from this you can see how much care I put into my sketches and how you can go back to work things out, even if they're not successful the first time around. That may or not be subtle foreshadowing. What? Who said that? Now going in straight to the rendering stage, we're skipping the hair for the clothes. Not because I haven't already done it, but because I didn't like how it looked the first time around. To reveal the truth to you guys, I actually drew Pomni first before everyone else. And because of this decision, it caused me to maneuver things with fresh eyes for the first time, without an idea of how things would be executed. Still, I pushed myself, and I ended up going back to her hair with a better understanding of what I wanted. Most of this drawing was heavily inspired by a certain artist who goes by the name of Israel or Tahubaccem? Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Under TikTok and Twitter, they also go by Meteor Star or Mio Star in Twitter's case if you're trying to find them on multiple platforms. Sorry if I mispronounced it again. Just a heads up because I didn't know and it left me confused. Their drawings of Pomni were really inspiring to me, and most of the choices I made were because of them. I'm in love with that piece, and I feel like I took a lot of inspo from them to justify making this section, so please go support them. I'll link them in the description. Pomni walked so that Jackson Brackada could run. She walked so that I could run. Now I'm on to filters and other fun accessories. I remember a deliberate choice I made was not to add a background for any of these guys. I was originally going to, but I made the choice not to, just to keep things coherent between all of them. Backgrounds are something I can go into a spiel in for another time, but since I suck at drawing them anyways, it helped me get things done faster. Now that I'm almost finished with Pomni, it's time to go into what I like to call the highlight of this video. Enjoy! Pretty funky, am I right? I told you this was the highlight of all time. Now that the video is ending, I really want to thank you for sticking around for so long, because I was not expecting this to be 18 plus minutes. No, really, it was supposed to be an innie and outie tops, but I always like to overdo myself, so I guess it was worth it. Also, thank you for the reception on that last terrible excuse of a video. I was not expecting all those views. I think I'm now more motivated to make more content on this channel, however long it takes. In the end, if there's any takeaway I want you to get out of this video, is to keep drawing new things, despite how hard it can be sometimes. It could introduce you to new ideas you could use on future drawings. I know it can be hard, but it can also be rewarding. And I think you should hold on to that. At the end of the day, thank you so much for watching this video. And I guess if you want to support me, I'll link my socials somewhere in the description. I don't know. Until next time, woohoo!